King Kong. In 1983, to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the release of the original King. And we cross 7th Avenue, and on our left is Macy's. City's economy, although in recent years much of the buttons, zippers, and fabrics, and it is an eye-opening experience to visit a button shop, and you have no idea how many different kinds of buttons there are until you see the information regarding sales and special events in the garment district. In the heyday of the garment trade, it was quite common. This journey is done. Lesson number 1. There are about 13,000 yellow cabs in New York City. If you have the impression they must all be on the street all the time, you are not far wrong. At $1,000, you'll find yourself putting in 18-hour workdays. Much of the profanity heard on New York City streets is directed at New York City cabs. Macy's is the world's largest department store with over 2 million square feet of shopping space.
Wo steht das, wann die Circle Line losgeht?
Excellent souvenir. No one at home will have anything like it, and they will consume themselves. There are 26 steps leading up to the front doors of the GPO, one for each letter of the alphabet. A perfect symbol for a building dedicated to letter carriers. And we make our turn onto 34th Street, brings into view the Empire State Building, once again the tallest building in New York City, and for many years the tallest building in the world. Completed in 1931, the Empire State Building was only 2 years old when it received its most distinguished visitor, a very large monkey named King Kong. In 1983, to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the release of the original King. And we cross 7th Avenue. And on our left is Macy's, and more Macy's, and yes, still more Macy's, as we make our way to the intersection of Broadway and 6th Avenue, Herald Square. Macy's is known for a number of special events in New York City, such as the Thanksgiving Day Parade, when Santa Claus makes enter now the oldest European settled section of Manhattan, our financial district.
하네요. 예.
To our right, the building behind the scaffolding and the construction curtain, the Deutsche Bank building. And that building is coming down, not going up. The damage it suffered on September 11th was primarily hazardous material. Consequently, it had to receive a thorough cleaning before they began the job of dismantling it floor by floor. In the course of that cleaning, human remnants were discovered in the Deutsche Bank building, and it is sometimes called the last standing tomb of September 11th. About a year ago, a disastrous fire broke out in the course of its deconstruction. Work came to a halt and has not yet fully resumed. And before us now is Trinity Church. And the front door of Trinity Church opens onto Wall Street. Traffic light marks Wall Street. And in our crossing of Wall Street to your left, the building with the low iron fence about it is the New York Stock Exchange building.
Let's see.
Our next stop will be Battery Park. Your stop for the Statue of Liberty.
Camera there, look.
Cityside's Brooklyn tour departs at 11 o'clock. Financial District and the Staten Island Ferry.
Where do you look?
At the foot of Broadway, the old United States Federal Street and Whitehall Street. If you purchased a ticket for the Statue of Liberty ferry from one of our agents, please have that ticket in hand as you depart the bus. If it is still part of that excessive stream of paper that we issue, it must be exchanged for a proper boarding pass with one of our agents. United Nations stop is next, 45th Street and 1st Avenue. Crossing 6th Avenue to your right, Radio City Music Hall, and do not neglect the magnificent facade that Rockefeller Center presents to 6th Avenue.
to your left side, you can see a bridge in the distance. That's the George Washington Bridge, which is 7 miles from here. Now, we'll get into that bridge in about 2 hours because we're going to sail right hand the other way. Cars, trucks. The buildings are changing the air in it every 90 seconds. Now, on your left side, there's an old gray pier on your left. The number on the end of it is 76. See that? All the piers are numbered. When you go down the Hudson River, if you want to know what street you're at, it's at 36th Street. Who said that? You just won $1 million. How about that? Guy over here with $1 million. You see what happens? You take the ride, you come up with, and if you don't pay up within 24 hours, they push your car into the Hudson River. No, they don't. That's 30th to the top of the circle line. I'm not sure what they charge in their rides. I thought I was going to see a landing. I don't see anything. Anyway, I think they charge $80 for the shortest ride, $80. And of course, if you want to get off the ground, well, you have to pay big money. I kind of like the $80 ride myself, where you just sit there and watch the boats go by. Very pleasant. No, I don't know what they charge. Also, on your left, you've noticed, I'm sure, they're tearing down all the old piers over here. These are old cargo piers, and there aren't any more cargo ships coming into Manhattan. They go to other parts of the city now. The reason for that is because these days are all too big. They're all thin. It's happening. It's changing quickly. And you see these red, white, and blue piers on your left? They're called the Chelsea Piers. Now, they were rebuilt years ago for recreation. They're going to be incorporated into that park I just mentioned. Climbing facilities. If you're into rock climbing, you can do it indoors over here. And they also have an Olympic-sized swimming pool on the top deck. They do. These are for a TV series called Law and Order. If you've ever seen it, it's filmed right here. And another one, Law and Order Special Victims Unit. Law and Order Criminal Intent, they're all filmed right here. And you see the last pier? It's all fenced in. It's a golf driving range. Look into the back of it. You can actually see the golfers in the back. There's teeing off from 4 different levels. And they're all trying to do the same thing. Trying to drive the ball over the end of the pier and into the Hudson River. It's never going to happen. Although it did happen once. One guy actually did it. Even the people that don't speak English, they're shaking their heads too. Straight over on your left side, there's an old pier that has a metal arch on the back end of it. That's the pier where the Titanic was supposed to dock. The year was 1912. It was the metal arch on the back. The name of the company is still on the arch. The White Star Line. Yeah, I know there are Titanic aficionados. That would be located on 14th Street. 14th Street and West. That's on your left. We're zipping along here. On your right side, they were still in use. They still use our Holland Tunnel. And they named it after the man who built it, actually, the first chief engineer. His name was Clifford M. Holland. And the reason they named the tunnel after him was because he died 3 days before the tunnel was completed. 3 days. I think he died of extreme fatigue. Everything. New office buildings, shopping centers, boat marinas, townhouses, and we even have a new hotel built right out over the water. It's ahead of it. It's the Hyatt. It's built down on the pier. And you know, a number of the Wall Street firms are glass building, and it's not high, and it's oval shaped. Actually, it's an atrium, and it's coming into view right now, straight over. See it? Inside of that building, there are palm trees. 16 50-foot palm trees. That's where you can sit beneath the palm tree in the middle of winter, see snowfall, watch boats go by. It's beautiful. Anyway, right behind that building is where the North Tower stood. The first one they had hit that day. Right behind that glass building. Now look ahead of that. See the next small building? Along the green top, a little steam coming out. That's where the South Tower stood. Right behind that one. 100 feet behind it. And that was the second one they had hit. A plane coming from the opposite direction across New York's Upper Bay at 600 miles an hour. That's where it all happened, right in there. That's 16 acres of devastation. Ground zero. And you know, it wasn't just the Twin Towers. 7 buildings were destroyed in the attack. 7 of them. The lives lost. Almost 3,000 people died that morning. They never found 1,200 of those people. And over here, all these people living in these apartments, They all had to be evacuated. Some of them couldn't go back home for 6 months. Had to live in hotels or with friends. Some went back to find dust and everything, 6 inches of it. And it was full of mercury and lead and asbestos, so they couldn't live there. They couldn't breathe the air. The government came back. They worked over a year cleaning up the air, making the apartments safe. Now it is. Life is back here. Ritz-Carlton Hotel and condominium apartments. And we're going to talk more about that later. Let's go to our right side. Native land. They tell you where they went to live in America. Yeah, they give you all of that. If you'd like to try to do that, I'll give you the address of their website. Maybe like first appear on our right side. And frankly, that's going to be the closest zero right there. She's a gift. She's a gift from one of the world's largest statues. She stands 305 feet above this bay. And it's green. It's green because it's made of copper. See, originally it was a bright copper tone, like a new penny, and salt here turns copper green. But it adds a bit of beauty, a patina. It gives it a protective coating, too. The copper is armature for the Statue of Liberty. Then he did the Eiffel Tower. Now you're going to see on the left hand, she's holding what looks like a book or a tablet. It's a symbol of our Declaration of Independence. The words, July 4th, 1776, all of that. Our right hand is holding the torch of freedom on high. Here she is, our first look at the Lady of the Lamp, or Statue of Liberty. Excellent close view. I know if you're on the left side of the boat, you can't even see it. But you're going to see it when we turn the boat around. You'll have a good view. Patience, my children, patience. You will not be denied. The statue is beautiful at night, too. You know, at night the torches are illuminated from within. So is the crown. Then they place floodlights on the rest. Stay with your left side. The Statue of Liberty will be appearing on our left side here in a minute. You know, the Statue of Liberty is 305 feet above the bay. And when the attack took place on 9/11, they closed the statue down for over 3 years. Then they who said the Verrazano Narrows Bridge? I heard a lady's voice say Verrazano Bridge. You just won $1 million wherever you are. That's the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. Most people never heard of it. It's not famous. But it's the longest one of its kind in America. Now if you look at that bridge, behind that bridge is the Atlantic Ocean. And if you really look, you can see land beyond the bridge. See that land? That's Europe. A movie called Saturday Night Fever. If you've seen Saturday Night Fever, that's where they filmed it. Made a big star out of a young actor named John Travolta. Ushered in a whole new era of music to disco. That's where disco got started, folks, back there in Brooklyn and Bay Area. And that's because they used that as a guardhouse. That was a jail. And they actually held Confederate prisoners there in the Civil War. And in World Wars I and II, prisoners of war were held over there. And you know what they used that for after all of the war years were over? You know what they used it for? A day nursery. Really, like overnight, I went from being a jail to a nursery. And the children, they loved it. They had a wonderful time over there. We used to sail by close enough so we could look between the bars. Officer and a gentleman. A number of the scenes are filmed on that boat. They do a great many movie shoots around New York. We'll see more locations too. Go to your right side now. Look back on your right. Remember I was telling you before the container ships, they don't dock in Manhattan. That big ship being unloaded right now. Or they're loading it up. You can see a container unit being placed on the ship. It is very minor. And the promenade on Brooklyn is let's go back to our Manhattan side. Let's go to our left side. There's a very, you see this green building ahead of you, modern looking green building? That was used in a movie called The Devil's Advocate. Al Pacino played the devil, if you saw it. That's what his office was in that building here. Now Wall Street is to the left of that. See that white boat on your left with a blue stripe through it? Right above that boat, that's Wall Street. Just watch it open up. You'll see it unwind, you look right down to the end of it, you see Trinity Church at the end of the street. And also on Wall Street, the New York Stock Exchange, Federal Hall, where Washington was sworn in as our first president, and a cemetery where Alexander Hamilton is buried and where Robert Fulton's buried. It's Trinity Church. If you've seen a movie, if you're in the back of the boat, now you can see Trinity Church. All the way in the back, you got it? It's gone. It's just fast. I know some of you saw it. I know that. I could see it pointing. I know others missed it completely. I see people looking in Brooklyn. Wall Street's in there. Here's the South Street Seaport on your left. See the Woolworth Building. That's the Woolworth Building. That was the world's tallest building for 18 years, 64. Look ahead of it. See the building with the gold statue on top? That's a statue of a lady in riding clothing of yesteryear. That's called Civic Right Bridge. Look at the cables on it. They crisscross. I mean, it looks like a spider's web. It's one of the few bridges like that in America. Also, when you go under it on the right side, right underneath the bridge, you can see the scaffolding. That was the major waterfall that they had here until 2 days ago. 80 feet high, 80 feet across. That waterfall would cascade 10 tons of water over the top every single second. And it's under this magnificent Brooklyn Bridge, which is a National Historical Landmark. Brooklyn Bridge was opened 10 years before automobiles were invented. It was actually built for pedestrians and horse-drawn carriages. John Roebling designed it. It's a masterpiece of engineering. And this is the bridge that Tarzan took the guide from in that famous motion picture. Tarzan Visits New York City, which I'm sure you all remember and all very close to your hearts too. Now on your right side, your movie buffs, this is this little park here. They do a lot of MTV music videos right over here in the park. And regular movies too, a recent movie called Alfie. It's 1,600,000 living on Manhattan. It breaks down to 70,000 people per square avenue. Now you're going to see 34th Street open up to you. You can actually look right across Manhattan on the street. And the Empire State Building is 34th and 5th. And a block away from that is the world's largest store, Macy's department store on 34th and Broadway. Macy's is now all you're going to get to the Empire State Building. You're not going to get any closer. Also on your left, look ahead of it. Here's the Chrysler Building coming into view. The Chrysler points on top, those are windows. And at night they have lighting all around those windows. It's beautiful at night. Also, you can see the bottom of the tower. History is gone. It's all becoming residential, apartments, and park areas. It's changing quickly. But there's a lot to see right here. Go back to your left again. Here's the United Nations on your left side, right here at the shore, the UN. The tallest building you see at the UN, the big green glass one, that's called the Secretariat. 39 stories high. I spoke to that man recently. He says he's sick of it. That's what he said recently. We'll try to keep you posted about his attitude. See that building on top of the highway? That's the conference building of the UN. Security Council meets there. Right behind ruins, because it was abandoned for years. Now I don't know what they're doing with it. They might be shoring it up or they might be tearing it down. But that building was designed by a man inside. You see these small homes on the trees, some of them. That's
On the left.
on the left side, there's one on the left, the lady said. If you can see it, it looks like he's close up, huh? Two of them up there. Oh, that big double bonus special today, two of them. Also on your left, you see that very light gray building over there with the act. Now they're always painting the Washington Bridge, continuous operation. And on your left side is a big medical center over there. That one is the Columbia Presbyterian. Also on your left side, see these new apartments? The street just before them is 72nd Street. Now inland of it, on the corner of 72nd and Central Street, crosstown bus, M42. If you want to go anywhere at all on 42nd Street, take bus M42. They'll go right across Manhattan on 42nd.
There's Wally. Some nightmare there.
Desgraciado.
There's Wally there. Checking out the rubbish. Wally, Wally. You're walking, Wally. You're walking, Wally. Let me have a look.